Sure. Yeah. Good. Great. Fine. Let's go.
Well, everyone, welcome back to a very exciting episode of the Storybox podcast. Today, my friends, I'm delighted to welcome Hollywood icon and legend. He's one of my all-time favorite directors, if I can say that. His name is Dennis Dugan. Now, for those of you that don't know who this incredible man is, you definitely know his work because he has directed and starred in the likes of films such as Grown Ups, Grown Ups 2, Just Go With It, Don't Mess With the Zohan. There's a famous line in there which says, let's disco.
Yeah,
classic line. He's also done The Benchwarmers, Jack and Jill, and Big Daddy as well. So there's a lot of films in there that he's also worked alongside of the comedic legend of Adam Sandler too. But Dennis is also a director, actor, writer, artist, and comedian himself. I can go on and on and on about your incredible achievements, Dennis, but welcome so much to the Storybox podcast today, my friend.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to listening to your BS. Chatting with you.
Well, hopefully it's not too much BS. Hopefully we can keep it straight line if there is such a thing.
Whatever you want. You do whatever you want.
I'm really looking forward to unboxing your story today, my friend. The very first question I do have for you is a question that I normally ask all my guests at the very start, but I'm very curious of your answer to this question because you've had a lot of successful things happen in your life. So what does success look like for you?
It depends because I when we do, some of the Sandler movies where they made like tons of money and people loved them and they were huge financial and sort of comedic successes. So I enjoyed that. But the movie I just did last year called Love, Weddings, and Other Disasters, we got killed because we couldn't come out in theaters because of the pandemic. And so it just went into the streaming ether and people call me up and say, hey, I saw the movie. I like the movie, but it isn't like that sort of success that I'm used to in terms of theatrical success and renown. But I had as much fun doing that for almost $0. But working with, Diane Keaton and Jeremy Irons and me and a bunch of my friends. And that was to me as successful an endeavor as the big ones. I think the success, what I consider success is I get to do what I do. And I have great friends and a great family. And I'm having fun despite the pandemic. So I don't know. Is that enough for you for success?
Yeah, of course it is. And you mentioned a film that I didn't actually mention in the intro, which is Love, Weddings, and Other Disasters. And actually a friend of mine, an alumni of the Storybox, Keaton Simons, wrote the soundtrack for that, I believe. And he was actually telling me about it when I was interviewing him. So I'm interested in, from your perspective as a director, what attracted you to that project in particular?
Well, I was walking into this very office and in my house, and my wife said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to write a script. This is like 16 years ago. I said, I'm going to write a script. She said, what's it about? And I said, I don't know. I'm going in to figure out what I want to do. And as I'm closing the door, she said, write a wedding movie, because I love wedding movies and they always make money. Well, she was right. She was half right. So I came in here and I thought, okay, well, I could write a wedding movie. And then I started going through every wedding movie that had been made. And it seemed to me like every wedding movie that had been made. And so I started thinking about, because I love the structure of Love Actually, the multi-story structure. And I thought, what if we do a story about people who create the wedding, but it's not really about the wedding. It's about they're trying to make the day perfect for this couple, everything perfect. And meanwhile, all of their relationships are like completely crazy. So, so I started that, and what I did want to have music be an integral part of it, and I didn't want to have, because we have this street singer who's the sort of narrator, and I didn't want to use songs that we licensed. I wanted the songs to be completely generic, germane to the movie. And so Keaton's dad and I had worked together on Moonlighting, a TV series, and we worked on Problem Child. And we worked on an episode of Columbo too. So we were pals. And a friend of mine said, his son is a musician and a songwriter. And I said, well, so we met long ago. And I said, hey, I got this idea. And I said, we can write our own songs. And I said, I don't know anything about music, but I can write the songs. And he goes, great, we can do it. Let's just do it. We'll do it. So we were together on that, again, it took me 15 years to get it made. And he was there for about 6 of them. And eventually when we were going, then we had a deal where I would write the lyrics and I'd send them to him and his writing partner in Nashville, Noah Needleman. And he and Noah would musicalize them, and they'd send it back to me. I'd give them notes, send it back to them. They'd give it back to me. And then we had our songs. And then we went down, my wife and I went down to Nashville for about a week, and we did the score in Noah Needleman's bedroom studio, and did the score for the whole movie. So the 3 of us basically did all the composing and whatever those terms are, composing, songwriting.
Yep.
So it was cool that I got to work with the father and the son.
Yeah, so Keaton Simon's dad is Eric Roberts. For those people that don't know, Eric is also another alumni of the Storybox, believe it or not. And you mentioned there that it took you 15 years.
I don't think that's his dad. Jimmy Simon's is his dad.
Jimmy Simons. Yeah, his
Eric
stepfather.
Roberts
Sorry.
is his stepfather, and Eric Roberts was in my movie it was called National Security.
Yes, that's right. Yes, Sorry, my bad about that. Sorry, Keaton.
Well, we're all one big mushy family.
Yes, it sounds like it. But you mentioned there, Dennis, that it took 15 years for you to basically get this made. Why did it take you so long to get it made?
Well, when I first wrote it, we sent it out, and a big independent company in New York immediately wanted to do it. So I flew there. Did notes. I came back. I did the notes, and then I got hired by Sandler to do Benchwarmers. So I said, let me do Benchwarmers, then we'll do the movie. They said, okay, we'll just do the movie next year. So when I was finishing Benchwarmers, the director fell out of Jack and Jill. And so we were actually in the editing room, and Sandler says, oh, the director just fell out. And I go, okay, cool. And he said, you want to do it? And I go, yeah, I'll do it. So I called them up. I said, I'm going to do this other one. Can we do it next year? And they go, yeah. And then we did 6 movies in a row without stopping. And eventually that company broke up and disbanded. So by the time I was back out on the streets, there was nobody. So then the usual thing, you just try to get an actor to do it, or get money and then get an actor, or get an actor and then you get money. And it was just back and forth and back and forth. And then I went back and I did Grown Ups, and I did Grown Ups 2. And so the timing never worked. And then finally, when I was back on the streets again, I decided to change the ages of the oldest couple in the script. I said, let's get, people over 70 so because people over 70 fall in love too.
Yeah.
So my producers said, "Who could we get?" And I go, "Well, I was in a movie with Diane Keaton 40 years ago, and we remained pals." I said, I called her up and I said, "Hey, I got a script." And she goes, "Well, I'll read it." And she called me the next day. She said, "I'll do it." And as soon as Diane Keaton's doing your movie, you got money, and then you got Jeremy Irons, and then you're making the movie.
Wow, that's incredible.
The other thing is that in it, I wanted the street singer to seem like a real street singer, you know.
Yep.
I didn't want it to be who I love, like Katy Perry or something like that, who like Katy Perry's now like a street singer. And every time you would go to her, you'd go, "Oh, they got Katy Perry." And then, so it wasn't the street singer.
Mm.
So I couldn't use her or, you know, Gwen Stefani or somebody like that,
Yep.
which would have been good for raising money. But Rob Schneider's daughter, when she was a kid, I put her in Benchwarmers, and she always liked me for that because she was a kid and I put her in the movie. Mm-hmm. And she turned out to be Elle King, the singer she just got nominated today for a country music award with a show she did with Miranda Lambert. And she did that song X's and O's. Remember that was a yep. Grammy. Anyway, so I called up Elle and I said, "Hey, I got this script, you know, she's a touring singer, you know." And I said, "I'd love you." So she goes, "Yeah, I'll do that." You know, so that was another thing. That's how we got like music people going, "Oh, cool, you got her," you know. So again, Rob Schneider, daughter thing, Eric Roberts, it's like it became a sort of a family situation.
I love all the history and learning how everything just sort of pieces together and sort of works out. And especially for films as well, like you have been a part of some of history's, I guess you could say, some of history's of funny, iconic films. I mean, Grown Ups is timeless. Just go with it. I mean, those are the films that a lot of people actually go back to every single year and watch them. And I think the same with Love, Weddings and Other Disasters is a very similar feel. And I'm very interested in a director's process and what they're looking for. And because I'm a huge film nerd, if you can't see, and I was actually, my desire was to become a filmmaker one day and director and all that sort of stuff. I kind of wanted to be the next Spielberg. Another long story. But what has been, when you first started, what got you interested in film in the first place? And I want to sort of steer to other questions after that.
Well, I grew up outside of Chicago in just a regular American, like small town. And my mom had gone to drama school in her college years, a school in Chicago called the Goodman Theater, which is a big deal school. You know, Joe Mantegna went there.
Yeah.
Carl Malden went there. Carrie Snodgrass, do you remember her?
I don't know.
Carrie Snodgrass, didn't she do Diary of a Mad Housewife? I think she got the Academy Award for it. She was in the like a couple of years ahead of me. So a lot of people have come out of it. It's a really good drama school. So I went there to be an actor. And then I went to New York to be an actor and was there by 3 or 4 years, you know, just trying to get jobs and stuff. And I finally gotten a play and off Broadway. And I was so excited. My parents flew in, they saw me in the play, and the play was a hit. And then like 6 weeks in, people broke into the theater, stole the safe and burned the lobby down. So the play closed. And I was like 4 years I'm in New York and I finally get a job. And 6 weeks later, you know, the guys burned the theater down. And it wasn't because of my performance either. Although I think it wasn't. Maybe it was an angry patron.
You take the blame.
Yeah, I'll take the blame. So they get us all together and they said, "Hey, we're not reopening, but we're going to open in California. So we can't fly you out and do or whatever. But if you want to be there, you can open in the play in California." So I said, "Great. I'd never been to California." So I came out and opened in the play, and it was a big hit, and I made a big hit in it. And so I got an agent, and I actually got a movie. Roger Corman, if you're a film nerd,
yes,
Roger Corman is, right? So he was the king of the B movies. And he came to see it and came backstage and said, "Oh, we got a movie that you could be in." It was a great, and it was like a really B- movie called Night Call Nurses, and the undertitle was Night Call Nurses. It's always harder at night for the night call nurses, and I played a peeping tom transvestite in. In Night Call Nurses. And so that was my first big film debut. And so then I started getting some jobs out here. So I moved out here and I was working along, and my career was getting better and better. And I'd get, some guest shots on TV shows and a pilot sometimes and a movie of the week or part in a movie. But I was just confused because I had only trained in theater. So when I first got here, I had no idea what, at one point I was in this scene and I was like, I had this glass. I'll see if I can hold. Yeah. So I was talking like this and and the guy said, "Can you hold the glass in a little, closer to your body?" He goes, "First in and then closer to your body too." And I go, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So I'm just doing my acting again. And so I went after the scene, I went back and I said to the cinematographer guy, I said, "How come you want me?" He said, "Well, look through the camera here. You can see," because I only thought of the proscenium of the theater, not like a frame of a film camera. So he showed me, and then I asked him, and he was very nice to me, and kind of got me oriented toward acting in television and films, and but I started getting interested in that, So I won some money playing poker in New York. I won $3,000 in this game, and I came back to LA with my $3,000, and I bought a Super 8. This was film. This wasn't. They didn't have phones with cameras or anything. So I bought a Super 8 film camera and wrote a little script, and then got some friends together and shot it. And then I had to buy some editing equipment. And you don't know this. You're young. You're just a kid. But when you're doing that, you had to like scrape off a layer of the film, and then glue the next shot onto it, and sit there and let the glue dry. And then, so I hand edited this little Super 8 film, and people kind of liked it. It was just friends. I didn't screen it anymore, but so I did another one. Then I did another one, and you know who Steve Cannell is?
No, I don't.
No, he was one of the big all-time TV writer producers. He did at the end of the thing, he'd type and throw the paper out of his.
Yes. Yeah. Gotcha now. Yep.
He did Rockford Files, and I just did thousands of shows. And so I had done some episodes of a pilot for him as an actor. And he said, "I didn't know you wanted to direct." And I go, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, come direct for me." So I went there, and I for about a year, and I just followed everybody around, and I learned everything that I didn't know about the business of making television. And he said, "Now, okay, direct an episode." And I directed a couple of episodes. And then I was in this show, Moonlighting, with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd. And so I directed the last year of that. And out of that, I got the movie Problem Child. So it just tumbled sort of organically, but it tumbled into directing.
Mm. What a story. What do you think, in your opinion, makes a good director, especially one that does comedy? Because you got those directors that are great at thrillers, mystery, those different genres. What do you think for yourself makes a good comedic director?
Well, the script and the cast. Which is that, and there's a way to do it, and the good guys all do. Adam McKay,
yep,
and you know, the best ones, Judd Apatow, everybody, you know, you do the script, you get good actors, you know, and you get your pals, but you get good, funny people. You do the script, and then you just open it up and you just let them fly. And you know, being, yeah, I think I'm funny, and I am pretty funny, but I'm not as funny as those guys in their way. But I am a good comic enabler, like a good alcoholic enabler. I can get them. I know how to stoke them, you know, and I love that. I love the process of it. But you know, again, it's a combination of getting the right people and getting a script, because unfunny people with a funny script will make an unfunny script, and funny people with an unfunny script might make it amusing. But you got to have the material and the people.
Yeah, that's very true. I've noticed that with choosing actors for some of my films. I never used to work with proper actors. It used to just be my friends and my family,
Right.
and just draw them in and say, look, you're doing this, just pretend. And I used to try and bring the character out of them, but it wasn't really happening. So it doesn't, yeah. But for someone that you are working with, that is a great actor, you are on the set, cameras are rolling, and they're having a very difficult time getting the kind of, I guess, scene right for you and your vision. How would you enable them to actually get what you're after?
Well, it just depends. You know, it all depends on the individual.
Yeah.
You know, and usually if you cast it right, you don't have that scenario that you just came up with.
Yeah.
But you know, you can just do a ton of takes. And if it's not going well, and if you do have somebody who's a clunker, then you got to do a ton of takes, and you got to get enough coverage so that one, you can, you know, especially when you go into the editing room, you cut the film together and then you show it in a preview, and there are places where they don't laugh. And so you go back and you look and you see, do we cut the joke? Do we lengthen it, or do we shorten it?
Yeah.
Those are your three options. Sometimes you'll lengthen it a little bit because the joke before, they're still laughing, and so you miss the setup of the new one. But the danger, the terrible danger of that is, so they'll go like this. Here's your setup line for the next joke. And the laughter will come here. Laughter, 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 laughter. Setup line, we didn't hear it. Boom. And then this joke dies. So you go, okay, very simple. Let's just put some space, a little air in here, put a little head on this one. So it'll go da, 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 and then set up another joke.
Mm.
So you put that air in. Next time you preview it, no laugh here. And then there's this dead space. There you go. Oh boy. Sometimes you can't win.
Yeah. I've noticed that comedic timing is often very, very important, especially in movies. If you don't have it, it just goes, it goes absolutely wrong. For you and all the movies that you have done, a lot of them are comedy based, and you have got some good ones in there. Some of my favorite ones, like Big Daddy, there's some very funny moments in those movies. What have been some, I guess, if you remember some, those challenges on a film set for different movies? Have you come across some of those?
What kind of challenges do you mean? Just any kind of challenge?
Just any kind of challenge. Like if you've run across some difficult challenges that ended up being funny later on, in hindsight?
Well, like in terms of challenges, you know, for Big Daddy, you know, we had a kid, like supposed to be a 6-year-old kid. And, you know, you have a very limited number of hours you can work them every day. And the kid's in the whole movie. So it was going to be a 150-day shoot. So we found twins, these two like amazing identical twins, and the great thing about them was they were identical and they were wonderful actors. And the Sprouse, Cole Sprouse and Dylan Sprouse, who like became they're sort of famous teenager actors now. But they were really, really good actors. And one of them, I can't remember which one, but one of them was funny. The other was very soulful. Even though they were identical, they definitely had a different personality. So in most of the scenes, when Dylan's time would be up, because we'd bring Cole in later, we could just plunk them right in and they'd pick it up. I mean, there's no way even I could tell now. If we watched it back, I couldn't say, oh, see where we changed him out here. But if it was a scene that was a soulful scene, I'd bring Dylan in first and have Cole do the backup. If it was a comedic scene, I'd bring Cole in first and have Dylan do the backup. And it really that was a challenge because I just figured, oh, they're both going to be great. But they had a little nuance which really helped me.
Mm-hmm. That's clever.
The biggest, most challenging. There were two really challenging movies. One was Zohan, and the other was Love Weddings. Zohan, because it was so gigantic in scope, and we had to shoot, and we shot in Israel, Mexico, New York, LA, and Adam wasn't in Israel because of security concerns at the time and stuff. So we shot all of the beach stuff, the opening beach stuff on Tel Aviv Beach, with me being off camera, with Adam being Adam off camera. And then we shot the other side of that in Mexico. And we shot parts of, there's a giant John Turturro chase scene, and pieces of that were shot in all four, in New York, LA, and puzzling those pieces together. And a lot of them were stunts too, where at one point, Adam's double dives across from one roof to another in Tel Aviv and lands on stage at Universal Studios. So that was just a thing. Keeping all of that together was an amazing task. And then in Love Weddings, we had no money to do the movie. And we had only 26 days to do this like giant movie with all of these characters, all of this stuff. And so and we only could do 12-hour days too. So it was everything was completely against us being able to actually make the movie. But one is we got good weather. And the other thing is, because again, you saw the movie. I mean, there's tons of sets and there was a Greyhound. They used to have Greyhound racing in Massachusetts, and in like 2000, whenever, they shut it all down.
Yeah,
this gigantic track that had restaurants and bars and all sorts of things. It was like Disneyland for Greyhound racing enthusiasts. It was abandoned, so we went there, and I said, "Let's just make this our studio." So we shot all of the bar scenes, the restaurant scenes, the wedding reception, the strip club, all in this place. We just made it essentially we made it into a movie studio, and that was the only way we could have made the movie. And that was the challenge. Was they originally we were supposed to do the movie in 40 days. And we didn't have enough money. So they said, can you do it in 35? I go, yeah, sure. They said, can you do it in 30? A week later? And I go, yeah, sure. And they said, can you do it in 25? I go, no, I do it in 26. And they said, okay. And nobody thought we could do it. And because of some dead greyhounds, we were actually able to pull that off.
I love all this stuff. Like this is like a filmmaker's heaven. I'm nerding out listening to all these stories, man. Like, cause these films, I don't know if you know, but I've probably already told you anyway. These are some of the films that people are going to remember. Like my kids one day are going to watch these films when they're old enough to, obviously, and they're going to fall in love with them too. So I love how they get made, because there's a whole process involved behind them. And I have a massive appreciation for it. And for you as a director and learning how to problem solve more specifically, how have you become better at problem solving when it comes to these challenges that seem to come up? Does it get easier over time?
It does. I guess it does, because I did when I first got the movie, when I got Problem Child, that was a hit. So I was like hot. And then I did a movie for the Zucker brothers. They did Airplane and those movies. That movie flopped, even though we had John Turturro in it. That movie bombed. And then now I was cold. So I went back to doing TV because I couldn't get a movie. And so I just did TV show after TV show after TV show after TV show. And at that time, you were either a movie director or a TV director. There wasn't, you couldn't be both. Not like now when it's cooler to be a TV director. So I just did TV shows, and I took every job I could get. And I did good TV shows and crappy TV shows. But I kept always saying to myself, just do them and make them as complex. There was one company that just wanted you to basically shoot a master and then close up, yeah. Close up, master, get out of there in 10 hours. And that's how they just hacked them out, and that's the way they did them. And so I just said, okay, I'm not going to go over my 10 hours, but I'm going to make the shots as complex as possible. I'm going to make the master go into coverage and do sorts of things, because I said I could just hack out a living doing this, or I can get better. And if I accidentally get another movie, then I'll be ready. Mm. And so that's what I did. I just challenged myself and the crews just were like, some of the crews were just like, come on, just, but I go, no, we got 10 hours, we're doing it, so, and I did get better. Mm. And then I got back into movies. And then ever since then, I just sort of bounced back and forth. Mm. I did like a lot of NYPD Blues and that sort of stuff. I do, bench warmers, comedy, crazy comedy, and the next week I'd be doing NYPD Blue. So, but it was great because that was another whole, discipline. Mm. So I don't know what your question was, but that's the answer.
Do you worry too much about the ratings at all? Does that affect you?
Yeah, it's always a fight. It's and these people are just assholes. They're genuine. They're completely unreasonable. Love weddings and other disasters. I had the Russian guy. I had this fake accent that they all did, and he would say, "What the feck is this?" And the script said F-E-K, and that's the way he pronounced it, feck. They come back and they said, we were just about to release it, and they said, no, you're getting an R rating for using fuck. And the Saban people were just like freaking out. I go, it isn't fuck, it's feck. Mm-hmm. And in the dictionary, it says there's feck in the dictionary. And they went back to them, they made that argument, and they said, yeah, but people are going to think it's fuck. Mm. So we had to take two of them out. We could have one. So yeah, I don't disagree that there should be a suggestion, but that I've had like battles with them before, and they're just unreasonable. And it's America, and we've got, and those, I bet you those people are the same people who won't get vaccinations. So my statement to them is feck you.
Oh, that was gold. Now, all right, I gotta get some kind of composure and ask the next question. When it comes to film critics, I feel like if none of them have actually gone through the process of making a film, I don't believe that they have any right to really make too much of a comment, especially if it's a negative comment. But you're going to get those negative comments that come along with it, which do suck. But what do you think separates an award-winning film from just a normal film?
I don't know. I don't know, because critics are just people who have a job because I have a job.
Yeah.
And they don't understand comedy at all. And a friend of mine a long time ago became the I don't know, the publisher, whatever, of Hollywood Reporter.
Mm.
And I said to her, I go, you got a chance to do something that's really good. She said, what? And I go, people like Rolling Stone, if Bob Dylan comes out with a new album, they don't say to their classical music reviewer, hey, review the new Bob Dylan album. They get a rock guy or a folk singer guy who understands that genre, which is completely different from jazz or classical, whatever. They have a jazz critic, they have a classical critic, they have a rock and roll critic. And so that person understands that whole genre and can place the work in the context of all the other work in that genre. Good or bad, they can say. But what because you'll rarely ever see a comedy that is even nominated for an Academy Award or a Critics' Choice Award. So she said, that's a great idea. We're going to do that. Mm-hmm. And then she got involved in some turmoil and then got fired. So it never came to be. But critics just, Sandler gets pounded. I get pounded and pounded for my movies, and they just people keep liking them and laughing. We do it. The critics are the $200 million worth of box office tickets. Those are good critics, because those are people who saw it and say to their friends, hey, go see that.
Yeah.
So I God bless them if they want to be critics, but they shouldn't come into the comedy world if they have zero sense of humor.
Yeah. And I feel like as well, especially for those people that want to look for a quote good movie, they kind of go on IMDb and look at the rating system. And then if it's been poorly rated, then they're like, oh, I'm not even going to really bother with this movie. But for me, I at least want to give it a chance. So I think it was Jack and Jill. That movie got absolutely hammered. And it had a severely low rating, but you watch it and you're like, hey, this is actually funny. This actually, hits. And I mean, it's weird, but it's a funny movie. And I think I feel like it's wrong as well that comedy movies don't get the justice they so deserve in the awards. I feel like, Hollywood, the Academy Award, if I can say this, is kind of like a select thing. Like most of the films, they haven't really been comedy related at all. They've been sort of drama or thrillers or mystery that sort of thing. So I feel like there needs to be a shift in the right direction that way, because you got to give them all a chance, right?
I'm a member.
You're a member. So did I hurt your feelings there?
No. I'm a member, but I'm also in the DGA, and I've said to them, and they don't do it. But the DGA in the DGA Directors Guild Awards categories for television, they have best TV series, best thing, best drama, best comedy, whatever. Gets to movies, it's best film, and I go, why do you separate out television, but you don't separate out film?
Mm.
And they go, just like you do. You go, yeah. Right. I don't know why, but we're not doing
it. I don't know about you, but I feel like it needs to change. I feel like we need to give those movies that chance to get more awards. But that's just my personal opinion, at least. And I'm not a member, so I can't really. My voice doesn't really count there.
I'm a member of everything. Television Academy, the Emmys, the Directors Guild, the Writers Guild, the Motion Picture Academy, SAG, AFTRA, Actors Equity, you name it. I pay dues for it.
I love it. Dennis, man, I really do appreciate your time. I do want to be respectful of it. 2 final questions for you, if you don't mind. This one, sure. I love asking all my guests. So what do you love the most about yourself and your story?
What do I love the most about myself and my story? I like my story because basically I did it. I got here on basically not on my own, but I got here through work. I left Wheaton, Illinois, and I went to New York with on the weekend of Woodstock, and I had $400. I figured it out along the way. Lots of people helped me, but basically I figured it out along the way. And so that's what I like about my story. And what I like about me is that I met my wife, who actually just like made me happy and made me confident and made my life.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
That's her. Here, you can see her here. Yeah. I'm also an artist, So that's her.
Wow. What do you love the most about her?
Everything. She's like the happiest, smartest. She's a shrink too, but she's the happiest and most positive person. For her, there's no horizon. She would have, if Christopher Columbus had come to her and said, "Hey, we want to take some ships," and she'd go, here's some money. Go take the ship, and God bless you. That's her.
Wow. Has that been the biggest lesson she's taught you in your many years together?
She says, take a ship and get the hell out of here. Leave me alone.
Oh, I love it. Dennis, this has been an absolute joy being able to speak to you. Where can people connect with you, find you? I mean, they can watch all your movies. I mean, that's not hard. Go on Netflix. But where can they, if they wanted to, can they connect with you or anything like that?
I'm not like David Spade, who has an Instagram following. I keep my Instagram to people when it says friends. I actually keep it to friends. The only thing where you can find my artwork is DennisDuganArtist.com. That's where my artwork is, and that's a passion of mine, which I really am enjoying. So that's it.
I'll make sure that people.
But we finally got this together. We got this together. It only took us a year.
We finally did. Yep. It's a long time in the making, people, but we finally made this happen. My last question for you, Dennis, is my all-time favorite question I ask everyone at the end. It's a hypothetical one, but I want you to imagine with me for a moment that you've been able to reach the age of 100. All your friends and your family have decided to put together a film for you of everything you've ever said and everything you've ever done, Don't ask me how they got it. I will just call it magic for sake of argument. But they've been able to get it and show it to you on your 100th birthday. What do you want that film to say and to show about your life?
I would like him to say that he cared about people, tried to lift them up, and deep down just tried to make them laugh so they could either forget about their problems or, more importantly, just ignore them.
I feel like that is a perfect send-off message. Dennis, my new friend, thank you so much for your time today, your story, and for joining me on the Storybox podcast today.